Hi kids, it's Bunny with another junk journal. This one's different from the others in my shop. It is not hardback. It is soft and squishy. And it has fabric on the cover in a pretty pattern. And there's a vintage doily and cute picture and a little brooch, and it's held together with this green silky sash, which I will remove so we can see what's on the inside. Get my little helper underneath here. Okay. Yeah, I think the framing's good. Inside we have a lace pocket on inside the cover with a journaling card. All journaling cards are blank on the back, so you can write on them. And here's a tag. All tags are blank on the back, so you can write on them. It's got a little applique on it. And here is an envelope. It has a vintage photograph on it, a wedding photograph, and inside is a little note for the person who buys the journal, telling them all about how to use the journal if they don't know. In the next tuck, I love these mushrooms. It's so pretty. We have a journaling card and a tag, and here is a little envelope, and inside are several goodies, including sticker and vintage stamps and other little doodads. A lot of the pages are coffee dyed and have lace on the edges, and there are little clusters and other details throughout. Oop, I just hit my tripod. And here's a doily. Here's a page from a vintage yearbook. And here's just some interesting paper. Here's handmade paper with flowers in it. And in this pocket, there's a journaling card. Oh, I forgot to tell you what the name of the journal was, didn't I? It's called Pretty Please 2. And it's just mainly, you know, pretty stuff. And this is some vintage stationery you can use for extra journaling. And that's a vintage ticket of some sort. And moving onward, we have some vintage music. There's the coffee dyed vellum, which crackles so prettily. Here's a page from a book about fairies. And here's a book page from a little vintage book. And here's some coffee dyed ledger paper. And here's a big envelope. It's got a vintage doily on it. And inside is a giant journaling card. You can write a lot on that baby. And also a letter from 1934. And I believe it's a couple of girlfriends chatting about something. Yeah. Let's see. There was something funny in here, but I can't remember what it was. Anyway, you can read it. And more ledger paper. Here's a little envelope. Inside is a a vintage photograph and a little journaling card. There's the vintage photograph, and here is a another tag. More of that. Some paper. Here is a little bag that opens, and inside we have a vintage button card and a vintage photograph and a journaling card. And in this tuck is a pretty journaling card and a vintage photograph of, it must be a school class or something. And here's a tag, and on the back of this one there's a lace pocket, and there's some little journaling card and ephemera in there. There's a page from Edith Holden book. Always lovely. This is some sort of newspaper that's been made into glassine form. I don't know exactly what you call it, but anyway, here's an envelope with a pretty journaling card in it, and a pretty journaling card tucked in there. More vintage music. Here's a little bag with a vintage photograph. No parking. Looks like she's parking to me. Loitering anyway. And this is some vintage wallpaper. And I put a belly band on the back of that, which is made of Indian sari trim. And it just has a couple of pretty journaling cards in it. There's a page out of the yearbook. Doily. It's a coffee dyed map. And in here, it's a pretty journaling card and a tag and another little tiny envelope, and inside of it are more stickers and stamps and things like that. In this little bag is a vintage photograph. There we go. And here is a little thing you untie, and the little doors open. And inside are a couple of pretty journaling cards. That ties back up. Here's just a selection of laces in a waterfall hanging thing with a vintage button. In this pocket, journaling card, and here's a part of a cabinet photo, vintage, and tag. And it folds over and makes a pocket on the other side, which has journaling cards and a vintage postcard with this, has writing on it. And in here, it's another pretty pleased picture and a vintage photograph. Woman looks like she's either fighting the birds or something. I think I think the birds are attacking her. She must be feeding them. And another tag. More from the fairy book. All coffee dyed, vellum, handmade paper, vintage paper, more vintage from a book. Here's another big envelope, and inside of it are it's a vintage cartoon, 2 of them, and a journaling card. I keep taking it off camera, I'm sorry. Journaling card and vintage what do you call those? Coaster. Vintage coaster. Okay, and continuing on, lots of little things to discover. A lot of things that I'm not showing you. Here's a journaling card. There's a vintage greeting card, thinking of you. Here's a tag and another little envelope, and it's got little stickers and things in it. Here is a piece of sari trim. And it's just clipped on if you wanted to use it for something. And here's another envelope, and inside of it is a journaling card. Don't worry, I will put it all back together. And here's some texture paste that I made into a pattern. Here's a journaling card, a vintage photograph, and here is a tag with a lace pocket on the back with some little ephemera in there. More wallpaper, a little bag. Ooh, there's nothing in there. I'll put something in there. I overlooked it somehow. And here's a little envelope with a couple of little vintage photos in it. And the journaling card. More Edith Holton. And this is a vintage playing card, the bulldog on it, and there's a tag, and another coffee dyed map, got a little heart-shaped Brad on it, so cute. Flipping on through, here's another bag, and it's got a page out of a vintage book on it with a weird photograph. And this envelope flips over, and it has some folks at Churchill Downs going to place a bet on the horsies. And a letter tuck with the journaling card. Here's more journaling cards and a tag and another little envelope which has some little goodies in it. And here's the back inside cover. It has a couple of journaling cards, and a vintage postcard. And that's it for your Squishy Pretty Please journal. And I'll list it in my shop, and hope you oh, I forgot to mention, along with this, I've made a couple of tiny journals that I didn't put in the book because it just made it too fat. It's too fat as it is. And it's got little ephemera in it and little details you should check out. So thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time. Bye.